Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura. To follow along with my daily life, you can come find me on Instagram. But today in this video, we are gonna simply talk about what is a carnivore diet. I think some of you have stumbled along this channel just from seeing a before and after video or because YouTube suggested one of my other videos to you. And maybe there's not a lot of context to like what exactly is a carnivore diet. And then I'm gonna get into more what that means for me in my context. Because the cool thing about carnivore is that there are so many different ways that you can approach it depending on what you're looking for, whether it's weight loss or healing and so many different things, autoimmune issues. You can address so many different things in different ways. So what exactly is a carnivore diet and what does that look like for me is what we're gonna get into today. All right, what is the carnivore diet? That is a very big question. I think there are people who do the carnivore diet with eating whatever meat you like, as much as you like, whenever you're hungry, and that's as simple as it gets. There's also people who are more in the perfect fat to protein ratio, grass-fed, grass-finished, organic, unicorn massaged specialty meats with organs and all of the glands included. Two huge varieties. There's so many options and it's so simple that sometimes that actually can be confusing. And so I want to explain a couple different things that people have options on. You know, there are people who are considered themselves carnivore who are very strict meat, salt, water only. And then there's people who are carnivores who are 80%-ish meat, and they include some plants occasionally. Maybe they include some fats or some spices or some, treats every now and again. And a lot of those things can work, and it all depends on the context of what you're looking for. You know, there's this weight loss versus performance versus sick curve, and the further you get on wanting weight loss and how sick you are, probably the more strict that you need to be. But the more metabolically fit you are to begin with, and the more that you're just looking for athletic performance, you probably can be a little more flexible when you're looking at adding things in. And so those are kind of the choices that you have when you're first looking to start. The first thing is figure out what are your goals and why are you looking at a carnivore diet in the first place. A couple of the other things that people question on is just that organ meats. So there are people who love organ meats. They take either the supplements or they're eating fresh liver and they're eating lots of different organs and they feel great doing that. And then there's people who fall into the category of not needing any organ meats and feel fine without that and are feeling great without any vitamins, without any supplements, and just getting all the nutrients that they need from steaks and fat. I think the perfect way to start a carnivore diet is to determine your goals and then start with the meat that you like and the meat that you can afford. Once you get to that place where you're comfortably in your lifestyle eating meat that you enjoy and that you can afford, then it's time to reevaluate and say, am I hitting my goals or not? Am I getting the results that I want? What else do I need to change? And that's the time where you can start playing around with fat to protein ratio. There are a lot of people who do better eating a lot more fat versus protein. And then there's also people who traditionally just stick with higher protein versus a lower fat ratio. And that might work for weight loss versus maybe there's some hormone health. And those are the different varieties. The cool thing is that there are so many people out there on YouTube and on Instagram that are just sharing their different context of what their personal context is and then what they're doing that's working for them, and you can kind of mirror a lot of those different things. But the most important thing, and the one thing I think we all can agree on, is that we don't need processed foods, we don't need junk foods, and the majority of people are in agreement that you don't need any type of starchy carbs for health and wellness, and especially not for healing or for weight loss. Another thing that's a variable is whether or not fasting is included in this. And I have an entire video that's on fasting. It's been a huge part of my journey. And there are people who agree that fasting is not for them and they would rather focus on what they're eating versus just fasting. I think one of the common mistakes people make in the beginning of a carnivore diet is simply not eating enough. And a lot of times people have healing to do when they first come to a carnivore diet. I think also our context of what calories are, right? Calories matter. maybe this is a whole other video that's needed, but calories do matter. They just are different when you're talking about different foods. You know, there were times in the beginning when I was eating and I was eating what I thought was a lot of food. I was eating a bunch of burger patties, or I was eating bacon and eggs. And at the end of the day, after, you know, looking at it, I was eating under 1,000 calories. And over time, not only was that affecting my hormones, it was affecting my hair, and it was also stalling out my weight loss, and I was just feeling really drained. So even though, you know, not a lot of carnivores are big trackers, it is important to understand, you know, what you're eating and what that looks like. And if you want to make changes, then that's a great place to just truly understand, like, how many calories are you getting, how often are you eating, and what can you address for that. So now I want to talk about my context and kind of why I do carnivore and what works for me. For me, carnivore, and the reason I looked for it in the first place, simply started out as weight loss. I was obese, I needed to lose a lot of weight, and I had felt like I had tried everything and nothing seemed to be working. Nothing could get me out of that yo-yo cycle. You know, every time I was on a different kind of diet, something would lead to temptation, which would lead to a cheat day, which would lead to like a 50-pound weight gain, because I could never get back on track after that cheat day. It's how I found carnivore in the first place. You know, I've outlined my entire weight loss journey if you want to go back and look at that, but really, it was because I was looking for weight loss and I needed something that was going to help me overcome my food addiction. For me, carnivore is eating meat that I like and eating meat that I can afford. The problem is I have to be careful not to eat it too often, right? When I eat is just as big of a factor for me as what I eat. So how often I eat are things that I regulate. I'm not able to sit down at a meal and tell myself, I'm gonna eat 700 calories this meal, and then I'm gonna eat 700 calories in my evening meal. Like, that would make me go crazy if I had to eat only a certain amount of food. I need to be somebody who sits down at a table and eats until I am full and can't take another bite. Trying to limit how much I eat in a certain setting is definitely gonna be, you know, a cause for me to, next thing you know, I'm, you know, looking into the pantry and I'm digging in the fridge and I'm munching on cheese and I'm eating off the kids' plates, and I really can't control my grazing at that point if I'm not full and satisfied. Typically in the carnivore world, we talk about the amount of food we eat in the pounds of food that we eat versus just talking about calories. But I do want to caution you to say that pounds of meat can be very different calorie intakes. You know, a pound of chicken breast is very different than a pound of ribeye or a pound of chicken thighs. Wings are really hard to weigh or measure because you're dealing with, you know, bones and lots of things like that. When I go to In-N-Out Burger, their patties are 100 calories per patty. And so if I'm eating a pound and a half of patties from there, that's 12 patties, well, that's 1,200 calories. Well, a pound and a half of a ribeye is fatty ribeyes with all the fat and eating all those trimmings is more like 1,800 calories. And again, I don't track those things, but knowing the difference matters. If I'm eating In-N-Out Burger, I'm definitely going to be hungry the next day and need to make sure that I'm eating every single day. If I'm eating something that's chicken or pork, I will need to be eating every day because I know I will get hungrier. If I'm eating something like a giant fatty ribeye with butter added extra to it and I'm eating all those fat scraps, my body is going to be sustained and I'm going to be able to go 48 hours without eating. And so how I control my weight and how I use carnivore for weight loss is simply focusing on eat what I want and eat what I enjoy and eat what I can afford. When ribeyes are on sale at the grocery store, I eat a lot of ribeyes because that's what I like best and that's what I want. I want to grill a ribeye, put some butter on top of it, and then I will control my weight and I will focus on weight loss by using fasting for that. I ensure that I'm getting a really great amount of delicious fatty meat with butter added to it, and then I can take a break and not eat for 48 hours because my body is having all the nutrients that it needs, and now it's gonna start using like fat from my body instead of food that I'm eating every single day. You know, we do go through times where those steaks are not on sale and I have to eat something more that I can afford. We do a lot of pork butts, we do some chicken occasionally, chicken thighs, I'll do some ground beef or burger patties. When I'm eating those, I'm not as quick to be fasting because I know that that's not going to be as satisfying for me. And so something like bacon and eggs might seem like, oh, I'm eating eggs and bacon with, you know, a lot of butter added to it. It's still not going to be as much nutrients and calories, and satisfying for me as it would be if I were eating 1.5 pounds of ribeyes. So that is a time when I know I would eat more often. I probably could go eat about every other day if I was eating 1.5 pounds of really fatty ribeyes with butter added and some great amounts of salt. It would be a lot easier for me to go and eat every 48 hours, which is where I would have the best weight loss results. I could not sustain this diet if you told me I had to eat organ meats, and I know that's, not everybody feels that way, and I'm happy that you do. I couldn't do it. If you told me I had to eat something that was not appealing to me. That's one of the reasons why we've been able to stick to this for so long, is because it is so appealing. Something else that I know is true for me, and I've reminded myself of this too many times over the last year. There is a quote that this woman named Jennifer mentioned on Facebook. She's an admin in some of the Facebook carnivore groups. 90% zero carb is excruciating. 100% is much easier, and it's not just 10% more results. And for me, that is so true. I think a lot of people live in this wonderful world of 80 to 90% carnivore. My mom is a perfect example of somebody who has an avocado occasionally. She enjoys nuts on the holidays, not too many, but she enjoys she has a piece of keto dark chocolate almost every single day. And that's just the way that she finishes her meal. And she's perfectly content having one little square of dark chocolate and then having the occasional avocado. And that works really well for her. She has healed her thyroid, her type 2 diabetes. She's lost weight. She's doing fantastic in her 60s by eating this way and living this way. I can't do that. One little square of dark chocolate leads me to I might as well finish the bar, might as well finish the box, might as well, next thing you know, I'm eating an entire box in one day, or I'm taking that little piece of dark chocolate and I'm dipping it in the peanut butter, and then I've eaten the entire box of chocolates and the entire jar of peanut butter in about 24 hours. That's part of my context, right? I struggle with food addiction, I struggle with moderation. There is no such thing for me as one little square of chocolate or one little keto treat or having a bite of something. I think there's nothing wrong with people having those things as long as it makes them feel good and it continues to give them the results that they want. But I just am not somebody who can moderate that. And for me, the more strict that I am, the more freedom that I feel. And anytime that I've tried to deviate from 100%, it really just has been an emotional stress. It is very emotionally strenuous for me to try to regain that focus and just to be happy eating meat. When people tell me that they're getting food fatigue, anytime that I have felt food fatigue or steak fatigue or just feeling stressed with having to eat carnivore all the time, it's probably because I've been eating too much of something else that's made me feel that way. And when I'm strict 100%, a lot of that anxiety is lifted, a lot of that restriction feeling is lifted, and I'm feeling a lot stronger just being able to focus on the great things that I can eat. I am going to make a video now. I've made a video before outlining 30 days of what I'm eating, and I showed you every single meal that I ate for 30 days. The difference there is the context. I was exercising at the time and I was maintaining my weight, and now I am not exercising at all. And I am also trying to lose weight now because of the weight gain that I've had that I've talked about. So because of that, I am eating less often and I'm eating differently. So I'm going to show you that. So make sure you subscribe. I would love to hear in the comments below what carnivore looks like for you, how your approach is for it. And then I'll show you that video of all my meals for the next month and we will see how it goes. Thanks, guys.